Hey guys, Santola here, and I am back. Well, I guess I'm still in Vegas, but I'm here with my Vegas profile, as well as my top 4 Costa Rica profile. So we got top 4 at Costa Rica. We unfortunately went X2 at Vegas and got 18th when I was top 16, so missed out. Individually, I went 9-3 at Costa Rica over the event and 9-1 at Vegas, so very good performance with the deck. I did play Voiceless, which is different than the Fire decks. I don't think it's too surprising that I play something a bit different, and my own tally is just that one, the Fire decks had a lot of complexity that I didn't really want to learn for the cost of just like still passing to a hand trap. I also think you didn't really get much of an edge in the mirror in terms of gameplay. A lot of it's just not, there's also a lot of depth, but there's a lot of variance as well. I want to have at least a bit of edge in deck building, and so I played Voices because it's the next best deck, and it just trades really well into the tech cards of the format. People want Veilers, Imperims, Nibs, and all these cards are half cards versus your deck if they do anything at all. And because of that, even though you're playing a slightly inferior deck in terms of power level, you get reward because people's tech cards just trade horribly into you. And when you get into hand trap wars, which is what this format is, you're able to come out on top just because you have tech cards that actually beat them and they don't have ones for you. So get to this. So 3 low, obviously the best starter in the deck. A few things to know with this card is one, if you have the ability to ritual summon, you don't normal summon this. You ritual summon first and then summon it. Because if you have the Guardian on board, then they have to stop the Guardian and this, as opposed to just stopping this and having things that are clunky. The other thing is that if you don't use the grave effect enough, this summons itself back from the grave anytime a ritual is summoned, which means that you have the ability to link this away. And if you have Guardian on board and not this, if you have Stravis on board, if you have no way of getting a ritual on board, this will revive itself, and you'll still have the barrier step, get another trap that way. And so people, I think, are used to just doing the Diamond Window play, which is like the simplest way of doing it, but it's not really giving you an advantage or anything else. And so having just linking this off and using this link material for something that's actually relevant, or Trias distributing it. If you hard draw Trias, you have another way to get into the grave, and then just tributing it when you're using Stravis summon a ritual are 2 good ways to actually get use of its body and get the additional spell and traps in the zone. 3 Divine, next best summon. One thing I think I notice people doing is that people will not generally hand trap this with Ash. They'll hold it for the low effect, the effect special summon the low, and so you want to be able to chain block with this as Guardian. So I don't always will use the Trias to tribute this. If I can, I'll just send the Trias, and then tribute this immediately for Guardian, so I can go Divino 1, Guardian 2, and this is chain blocked, and then use the Trias as an extra interruption. So this is like the quote-unquote Garnet, but this card's very good by itself. You can summon it from hand or grave by tributing up to 3 fairies, and if you tribute 2 fairies, then it's an immediate pop. It doesn't activate on summon, it's just you tribute 2 and it summons and it pops. And this effect is very important. I think one of the issues with this deck, and not the issues with this deck, issues with people's perception of the deck, is that they don't know how to use their engine hands and maximize their negates. I think everyone's just kind of going Guardian, Stravis, Trap, Pass, and the issue with that is that that's 3 interruptions. If you have tech cards, that's fine. But if you're opening a hand of all engine, you need to have your engine do more, and people are often still ending on that board when you should be able to push for more. This is an extra way of getting more value out of your negates, and you need to be able to maximize your engine. If I open all engine cards, I'm ending with 5-6 interruptions, and this is generally one of them. 3 Saphira, banish this stuff from the grave. Virtual summon, you can search. How you play around hand traps with this deck is that you want to make sure that you have low access to get the trap, and so even if you get drolled, you still have the trap to special summon something, and so you want to search for low first if you don't already have it, and then this lets you still foolish a spell, even if you're under a droll. And so if you get low into the trap, and then you foolish this for a spell, even though you're not getting the add, if you're drolled, you still get the trap to special summon. Other things to note, this is 6, so this plus Herald will let you ritual summon, so even if your Herald gets stopped, you have one of these in your hand, you can still hard ritual summon, and then Herald will trigger. One Stravis, this, like I said earlier, is very important with low interactions. If you have this on board, you can freely link away low, and then just bounces the hand. You do have to be wary of Nib game 1, but a lot of your hands won't lose to that. In general, even if you do link it off and then post side, you can play it freely. Double Guardian, double Stravis. I think this should be the standard lineup. You don't want to max out these. They're fine to drop, but they're not insane. I think some people are playing the odd eyes, but you don't need that. I think that anytime you open engine heavy hands, you should just be going for link plays instead of ritual summoning more. And this is also very good because it's searchable and it's just an answer to a lot of cards that target Princess. Like when you're cracking boards, especially the Snake Eye board, which is a bit more manageable to break, especially if you hit them with one hand trap as opposed to the Fire King matchup. If you grab this early, it turns off Princess, it turns off Imperims, and lets you push through boards really well. And I think one complaint with this deck you have, again, is they can't break boards. And yeah, you're not breaking the Fire King board, no deck is, but you can break half boards very easily, and if you know how to use maximize engine, it's very efficient at doing that. 3 Barrier, the Scourge Street, and my friend on one card. It's insane. I think as well, like this is why you win hand trap wars, because you have a +1 every turn. And then once you get your lock set up, it becomes very difficult for your opponent to interact. It also becomes problematic where they have the shotgun interruptions because If you get the ritual and low up, then stuff like Princess is just dead. And even shotgun interactions doesn't particularly feel good because you hit ritual their first ritual before they get low up, but then you can just float with the spell. 3 pep, just another starter. People don't play this at max amount. I don't understand why. You need to. It's +1. And then 2 spells. Fine job, but again, kind of clunky. Second great effect's really relevant. If a ritual leaves the field because of a card effect from your opponent, you can special summon one from the deck. And I think this is what makes the deck really good into Fire, is because if they're making half boards and they're relying on pops, you can always float into one. And again, they have to shotgun their pops because of this. Otherwise, stuff like Princess is dead, but if they shotgun it, then this is just punishes them, so it just floats anyways, which is why it's good into breaking the half boards of Fire. And then 1 trap. I think you should be going for this anytime you can over the barrier, because yes, barrier protects your guys, but low's 2000 defense already, so it's pretty sturdy. And then this is good because it can be used on both players' turns. And so a lot of times when I'm making the bigger boards and linking up, I'm using this to summon on my turn, as well as this to summon on my opponent's turn, and so you're getting multiple bodies, or the pop effect on their turn, but you want to be able to use this every turn, as opposed to just getting barrier, using it once on your turn, and then not being able to use it on your opponent's turn. Hand traps, 3 Ash, 3 Veiler, 3 Nib, 3 Imperm. People complain there's not enough this format, and I don't think there's any correct amount to max out on. One thing I think a lot of people do is they want to maximize hand traps in the main deck, but you also want to be able to play enough engine, because if you just draw hand traps going first, and you get hand trapped to death yourself, you're not in a good position. Like, you need to have enough hand traps to feel comfortable going second, and have your side hands to allow that. But the more hand traps you put in your main, your win rate goes up going second, yes, but also goes down slightly going first, and so you just need to play a reasonable amount. I think 12 is a reasonable amount. But you want to be able to still have enough engine to play through hand traps yourself, which is why I play 3 Brand Fusion and 1 Albez. I had this known for like 3 months, and then some guy in the OCG top with it, and then everyone kind of got wary of it. I think most other Voiceless lists weren't on this, and I don't particularly agree with that. This isn't like just a top up to the board, so it's you summon a Mirror Jade on top of everything. This is an engine piece, because when you're making your board, you send any piece you're missing. So for example, if I start Diviner and they Imperm or Ash it, there's no other good 1-card combo lets me play unless I hard draw Trias. But guess what? This card's Trias, because now I can just go Brand Fusion, send Albaz, send the Trias, and now this is full combo. And it's not just that interaction. If you get Drolled, you can Brand Fusion, send low. And so it's the best extender in your deck, because it's just a foolish burial for any light in your deck, which is very good. Get low, get Trias, get Saphira, while at the same time giving you Mirror Jade on top of your entire board. And I think, while, like I just said, if you're playing in a hand trap format, you want to have enough engine to reliably play through 1 or 2 of your opponent's hand traps, especially the ones that are trading poorly. And anytime I won the die roll with this deck, I felt like I was just auto-winning the game unless I opened a subpart, like one of those rare hands where I don't open like one of 12 ways to low, because it's just, they hand loop themselves trying to hand trap this deck, because everyone's on 18 hand traps, and then you end with like 3-4 interruptions, 5 interruptions, and tech card, and that's enough. So I would 100% play the Brand Fusion going forward. You just need this to push through your engine. It is an engine piece, and I think cutting engine in a hand trap heavy format is silly, at least for game ones. And this is 40, because I play 2 pots just to max out consistency. People get weird with me playing 2 pots, but you can cut these completely. I just want to guarantee a bit of extra consistency on top when you train with hand traps, and then it's an easy side out target, because I need 6 cards of side out. So the Brand Fusions, the pot come out going second for hand traps, but in the combo heavy matchups like Fire King, by everything else, you know, going first, you want engine to be able to play through your opponent's hand traps. Extra deck, Branded Package, 2 Albion, 1 Lubellion, double Mirror Jade. You can cut these down to 1 in theory. It's fine, but I just played 2 because there's nothing else in the extra deck that was really pressing that I felt I needed to play. You always go for this because you have no Dark System in the deck, so you just make this. If you don't need the body to tribute, if you need the body to tribute, so you need a light to tribute, you can just go into Lubellion first, shuffle this back, and then summon the Mirror Jade, so you have these 2, and then you distribute the Lubellion for your Ritual Summon, which again is why the Brand Fusion is good, because it's sending whatever light you need, as well as you now have a Ritual body to tribute. So it's just a great engine piece, and take it out going second against Fire. Going first, it always stays in. Against any other mid-range matchup like the Mirror or Lab, anything, you keep them in. 1 Entis, 1 Herald for Diviner. These come up a little bit. Like I said with the Saphira line, sometimes you can send one of these and then just hard tribute. 1 Chaos Angel, because low and Trias makes this. 1 Typhon. I almost cut this card because it's like, should never come up this format, but it's just really good. You never really have game states where it's like, this card is good, you need to play it, but in these weird game states, it comes up and it just wins the game. I made this card 6 times a day. Every time one of these games I was losing if I didn't play exactly this card. I'm going to continue playing this card. This was the event that kind of solidified me where even when this card should be bad, it's just going to come up and it's going to be good. Lynx, 1 Anima, 1 IP, Double Diamuno. You can probably cut this down to 1, but I just play 2 for make sure. I don't try to do this play as much as everyone tries to, because it's just not a play of getting any value. I try to go for IPA instead. And what happens a lot of times if I'm ending with Skull Guardian plus low plus the Stravis, a lot of people in this position would link off for Dynamundo, but this doesn't give you any extra interruptions unless you get to the trap. And so I'll instead link these two away for IP, which looks strange because I gave up my negate. But as soon as anything happens, I just do this, chain, summon a second Guardian from deck, and I'll know triggers, summons this, you get the trap, and so you still have your standard ritual setup, plus you have an IP on top. And IP is really good in this deck because you have Stravis to protect it from targeting, as well as you have barrier, so they can't even attack this. And so SP, which normally can be forced out in a battle phase scenario where they just run over it, that can't be anymore because you just have everything prevented from battle phase. I think IP should be played every one of these decks. I make this as much as I can. All your engine hands, you have extra bodies. I'll summon 3 lows on the first turn and link 2 of them into the IP just to get the extra interruptions. 1 SP because good card, and then 1 Goddess. The interaction with IP is that if you have your kind of standard board and they go talents to take after using Guardian Negate, you can use IP, link away all your guys and 1 monster on their board. Summon this card's unaffected by cards that don't target it, and so you are able to at least clear a monster, have the Bell-esque effect, and not lose the body. So it's just for that, never came up, but it's good to answer talents. And then side deck, just more hand traps. I play 3 Mourns. I think this one's somewhat expected. Just more effect failures for fire decks. And I play 3 Ogres. I think as you're getting down to the 6th hand trap, there's nothing particularly good. I don't think Droll's good in hand trap format because you're just playing wars where you're passing, and Droll's not a card that trades for value. Ogre's at least somewhat good because it can hit field spells, so it combos Nib. It hits both field spells, the Snake Eye and the Fire Island. Also hits IP. I only do this twice, both times it felt very impactful. I think it's overall not the best card this format, but when you're getting down to 6 hand traps, I think it's fine. I don't think breakers are real this format. I don't think you can try to play a breaker deck unless you're playing something extremely specific like Flu or Branded, and so I just want to max on hand traps. Double Duster, 3 Dark Ruler for the Mirror, because I actually lost to it in Costa Rica. My Costa Rica list is basically the same. Engine-wise, it's the exact same, just tech cards swapped out. I want to play something for Worth the Mirror, and rather than try play cards that trade, I just want to blow out card. So I play Dark Ruler, play the 3rd pot in the side, which looks extremely weird, but if this was Thrust, it wouldn't look that weird. I just want more ways to Dark Ruler, or Lightning Storm in the matchups where they're relevant, and Thrust just isn't good. Like, a lot of the decks that you want to dig for these aren't going to shotgun effects, and so I just played 1 to get through the power spells when I need those in the matchups. I decided on going first in general. Other matches for extra consistency, but it's mainly just as a pseudo Thrust when Thrust isn't good. And then the last card, 3 Strike. I think a lot of people are kind of stuck on the Sun Limit with Guardian because it's just auto-win. But if you make your board, even without trap cards, I think you auto-win the game. People aren't playing hard breakers, and so you should win the game. Having a bit of extra top-up, like a trap in the side, is going to make it guaranteed. And so people playing Sun Limit to make it like the most on top unbreakable board, I think is silly, because it opens yourself up to lose conditions. If you're going first and you're getting hand trapped to death, 2-3 hand traps, they shouldn't trade well, but sometimes they do, and you have a Sun Limit, you're not putting yourself in a losing position. And so while that card is the most win, the card that makes you feel the best when you're winning, it isn't the card that makes you win the most. And so if you're playing hand trap wars, you're just trying to trade 1-for-1 value. Strike's better. The normal summon Ash, you strike this. It makes the double star worse. And I just felt this was better. It's also good because if you get hand trapped out and you hand trap them out, this can answer another hand trap on the pass back. I think that people, like I said, are focused too much on cards that feel the best when winning as opposed to cards that win the most. This card isn't an auto win, but it's more flexible and will win you more games. It answers the game states where you combo as well as the game states where you are getting hand trapped to death, and this card can still trade. Overall, I'm really happy with this deck. Like I said, I had a 9-1 record at Vegas. I think it performed really well. I played 7 fires throughout the event, and I think it's a really good matchup. It's just a matter of learning how to maximize the engine when you're trying to play with it, and I think going forward it's still going to be a very good call as long as everyone's kind of tunneling on the effect failures, imperms, and nibs to beat fire. Thanks.